It's great to see you all. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Pastor Mike, or Mike Hendrick, whatever you want to call me. My wife and I are the pastors here. Been here for about 2 years. And I don't have a title for my sermon today, but it has something to do with making commitments and what it takes to follow through with those commitments. And inspiration I got this week was from actually watching the Olympics. How many of you watch the Olympics? Okay, wow, it's like a big majority of you. I don't know about all the things that go on with the Olympics and everything like that, with all the details and whatnot, but I really love watching the athletes perform and compete and represent their country and kind of come together as people who are at the top of their sport and to do the best that they can do. And I find it just really inspiring to watch people who have, and many of them are so young too, 17, 18, 19 years old, but they've risen to the top of their abilities in terms of what people can do, whether it's racing or swimming or gymnastics or whatever. And I just try to imagine sometimes, what did it take for these people to get to where they're at? How many years of training? How many years of hard work? Just many times doing the same thing over and over and over again till they could shave off that 10th of a second or that 100th of a second to become the best in the world. I can't even imagine. I mean, when I was younger, I did some martial arts and I played some football, but I never really did it seriously. I never had the aspiration to become like the best in the world or anything like that. But these people, that's their dream, the best in the world, break the world records or whatever it is. And I just find it to be very inspiring. And it's the one time in the year I turn on the TV, or one time in every 4 years, where I'll turn on the TV and just kind of leave it on. And it was interesting, about a week ago or so, 4 or 5 days ago, I did something that I don't even remember doing. So when I was a kid, I used to just turn on the TV and I would just use it as background noise, right? Whatever was on, I didn't care. But I haven't done that in a long time. And so a few days ago, I was doing a project. I was working on something downstairs, and I decided to turn on the TV and just kind of leave it on, because I was like, it's the Olympics, something's good is going to be on. And then before I knew it, I stopped doing my work, which was inevitable. I was like, I shouldn't have been surprised by that. And I was drawn to this program that was on the TV, and it wasn't the Olympics per se. It was like a documentary kind of thing, and they were doing like a special on this couple. I have a picture. Any of you know who this is? You know who they are. Yeah, the Karolyis. Yeah, the gymnastics coaches for the American team. So this is Bella and Marta Karoly. And the whole show was about this couple. And I don't know, it left such an impression on me that I just felt like I had to share it with you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. But this couple is from Romania originally, and they somehow got it into their mind that they wanted to train Olympic athletes in gymnastics. But they don't, even in the documentary they were saying, well, I mean, Bella was like a boxer or something like that, and Marta did gymnastics, but neither of them went to the Olympics. But somehow they had it in their mind that they were going to train Olympians, even though they didn't really have a proven method or like a way that they were going to make it happen. They just, I don't know, they believed in it so strongly that they went around the country, Romania, which at that time was under communist rule, and they looked for talent. They looked for people, young gymnasts who they felt they could train to go to the Olympics. And eventually they discovered this girl, Nadia Comaneci. And she's a little bit before my time, but apparently she was an inspiration during the Olympics. She was, I think, the first women gymnast who got a perfect 10 score. And she just inspired so many people to want to do gymnastics. Like several generations of gymnasts looked up to her as their role model of an amazing gymnast. And she won the Olympics. And she became really famous. And they became really famous by default. But the problem was that because it was a communist country, the government started telling them, they started telling them what they needed to do and how they needed to do it, the coaches. And he said, if you watch the documentary, he'll say that their slogan was, "We sing, you dance." And so this kind of became a real issue because they had a certain way that they wanted to do things. And then they started using her as kind of like like a mascot for their country. She would read, like a propaganda person. And she didn't have the time to do training. And then it became, it was very, very difficult. And so, make a long story short, they really felt that, they wanted to be gymnastic coaches for the Olympics. But they started to realize that they couldn't do it in Romania. So there came an occasion where they were all visiting America, some kind of a gymnastics tour or something. And, at this time, I think relationships between Soviet countries and America was very tense. And they were saying how they had, Secret Service was following them, and they were afraid that they were going to try to defect to America. And this was a very challenging situation for them because this was their opportunity. They felt like, what if we could go to America? We could have the freedom to do what we want to do and how we want to do it. But there was one big problem. They were in America, and they were talking about leaving, defecting to America, but their 7-year-old daughter was back in Romania. So when I was hearing the story, I was like, that must have been such a difficult decision to come to, because they actually did defect at that time. They walked out of their hotel, and they never looked back. And the next morning, all the gymnasts gathered together to go back to Romania, and the coaches weren't there. They defected to America, and America received them, especially because they were kind of well-known people. And even, they wouldn't let the daughter go for like 7 months. They wouldn't let the daughter return, be reunited with the family. But our government actually stepped in and said, look, if you want our trade agreement to be renewed, then you have to reunite these two families. So it's really cool. I mean, it's like, wow, it's like you wouldn't hear about that kind of thing happening these days. But, and then so the government sent the girl, and they were reunited with their family. But then, you would think that them being kind of famous, they raised up this, Olympic gold medal champion, that, they could have an easy time in America. Or they're already well known, a bunch of people are just gonna, hire them to train the kids for gymnastics, but actually it didn't happen that way. There was no jobs for some reason. And the husband actually ended up working in the shipyard, unloading, cargo during the night. And, just to, be able to make money. And they weren't coaching at all. But over time, they eventually found some part-time coaching, and they started doing what they did in Romania, which was where they would travel around the country looking for talent. And eventually they found this girl, Mary Lou Retton. And kind of a very similar situation. She was just in a small town, not well-known or anything like that. And one thing that I found really interesting about what they were sharing was that even though these two girls were very different, the original girl, Nadia, and this girl, but they said that what they found that was similar about the two girls was their drive to succeed. Their drive to, if someone asked them to do 10 flips, they would do 15 flips. not being settled with just doing the bare minimum, and the willingness to work towards whatever goal or success needed to happen. And that's what they were looking for in terms of somebody that could win at the Olympics, not just somebody who could be good at gymnastics, but someone who could be at the top of the world. And in 3 years, she became the gold medalist for the United States. And I just thought, that's amazing. They became successful in Romania. They came to America. They started with nothing. They couldn't even get coaching jobs. And within 3 years, they were able to, by their own hard work, trying to find talent on their own because no one was going to them, they were able to find someone and raise up an Olympic gold medalist in 3 years. I was like, wow, that's amazing. It's amazing. It shows that if you have the drive and the vision and you know what you want, you can find a way to make it happen even in a difficult situation. Even in a situation, I mean, if they didn't have the, okay, I'm going to get into that later. Anyway, I'll finish the story. So she became Olympic gold medalist, very famous, and then after that, everything landslided for them. I mean, they just, they started getting thousands of people came to their Olympic training center in Houston, and everybody wanted to train under the Karolyis. And eventually, they started. They became the Olympic gold medal. They became the Olympic team trainers, and they actually were in charge of deciding who went to the Olympics and who didn't, out of all the girls who were really good. And they went on to, and the reason that they showcased this documentary this year was because after 11 Olympics, they're retiring. This is their last Olympics. And as if you were following the Olympics, you know that the American team just did spectacular this year. They just basically left everybody behind. It was pretty amazing. And anyway, this is their last year. And they started, and now they own a 2,000-acre property nearby Houston where people come and they can do summer sessions, summer classes, and Olympic gold medalists go there to train. And it's an amazing story. I don't know why it touched me, but I think that part of it was that I haven't seen something like this in a long time. I love movies. I love movies. It doesn't take much to make me happy with a movie. Like Batman versus Superman, I like that movie a lot. Not because it had a good story, because it really didn't, but because there was a lot of action and it was fun to watch, and I just like that kind of thing. Iron Man, anything like that, I'm happy with it. It doesn't need to be a great story. But I realized that what really touched me about this show was that these are real people doing real things, or did real things. And in the movies, no matter how entertaining and no matter how interesting it is, it's not real most of the time. And I don't know, it spurred something in me. It touched something within me that just felt like, it inspired something within me that felt like, I want to be like that. Isn't that kind of the way you feel when you watch you watch a story of someone just go through some real difficulty or challenge in their life and they rise above it somehow and they just succeed beyond their wildest imagination? Doesn't that just like bring up something within you that wants to do something like that too? At least that's the way I feel. So in the story, there was a couple of lessons that I felt were really valuable for me. One was, it's really important to be focused on what you want to accomplish in your life. I don't know why this couple was so set on becoming Olympic gold medal trainers. I mean, beyond the Olympics in Romania, or beyond the Romanian experience. Like, maybe they could have just been happy with that. They trained a gold medal Olympian. They probably, were successful as much as they could be in that country. And, maybe they could have just been satisfied with that and just stayed there, even despite the government telling them how they had to do things and why they had to do things. Maybe that was good enough. But for some reason, that wasn't good enough for them. That was somehow it became their life work, that they were going to go and that was what they were going to do for the rest of their life, not just for a few years. Because why else would a person take such a risk? Why else would they leave their country? They don't speak English. They don't know the culture, you know. I don't think that they were doing it just for fame or popularity or something like that. And they, you know, risking their also never seeing their daughter again. That's a huge risk in my book. I don't know if I can make such a risk. But they believed in what they were doing so much, and I don't know how, but they did, that they were willing to not see their daughter again, possibly, and go to another country where they didn't speak the language and where they didn't know the culture, and start from scratch, knowing that maybe they wouldn't succeed. And it just shows the power of having something that you believe in, something that you're willing to kind of put things on the line for, sacrifice for. I love those kind of stories because I see those same kind of stories in our movement of missionaries who would go to other countries, leaving everything behind. And I think about our founders, Reverend and Mrs. Moon, how they decided to come to America. Even though they had a lot of things going on in Korea, and coming to America, they don't speak English, and they didn't know how things were going to go, but they knew so strongly that America was so important to the direction that the world was going to go in, that they felt like they had to lay everything on the line and come to America to try to save America from going down the path of destruction. The other lesson that I felt was really valuable from this show was that sometimes you have to let go of the way that you think things should go with your dream or your vision or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish in your life. If they had tried to stay in Romania and still accomplish what they were trying to do in Romania, it's very possible that they wouldn't have succeeded. Like they just probably couldn't have done it there. But because they were open to the possibility of leaving everything behind and coming to America, a whole new opportunity opened up for them that wouldn't have existed there. And I think that God oftentimes uses that kind of a method in our lives where we have a certain idea of the way that we want things to be done, but our minds are small. Like we don't really know how. That's the way I feel anyway. I don't know about any of you, but that's the way I feel. I feel like, so we're the pastors here, and I have this vision for how we want to really grow our community and not just grow our community, but create the kind of movement and church that, you know, that our founders really envisioned us having from the beginning. And I have certain ideas of how to get there, but I also recognize that my own ideas may not be the best idea, may not be the best way for us to get there. But if God is going to help us, then God will at some point probably show a different way, you know, through closing one door, opening another door, or whatever. And I think that God oftentimes works like that in our lives, in ways that we didn't expect, and they may be uncomfortable, but they open up new possibilities that we didn't know were there before. We couldn't have imagined that were there before. And after this family left Romania, it was a lot of work and a lot of effort, but eventually you could see they succeeded. They went on to manage 11 Olympic teams, and they have a 2,000-acre training center, and they're just, at least from the documentary, they seem really happy. Like, I might be wrong, they may not, it was just TV, right? But they seem really happy. They seem like they've really succeeded in something that they believe in so much in their life. And I think that that's something that all of us can take for our own lives. You know, we all have different dreams or different ideas of things that we want to do in our lives. Or maybe we don't. I've been at many points in my life where I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I just kind of living, trying to figure out how I should live my life in the best way possible. I know many of you have dreams or are thinking, what do I want to do with my life? It might be something as grand as, building the kingdom of heaven, or spreading the truth, about the divine principle to the world. It might be something else. You might want to become an incredibly successful businessman, make a lot of money, be a philanthropist, help people in different ways, this way and that way. Or it might be something like getting a promotion, or like a position that works better for your schedule, or something like that. Whatever it is, so we have new AV equipment. We bought it last week, and we're going to install it on Tuesday. Yeah, I hope it works better. And I'm also really sorry about the door back there. It's I don't know why it's sticking, but when the guy comes and fixes up the door, hopefully that will fix itself. Going back to the point about letting go, sometimes, we have to let go of the way that we think our life should go for something better. I was really moved when David Stein gave his sermon a few weeks ago, and he talked about him and Kendra's relationship and how at one point, Kendra, I'm just sharing from his testimony, Kendra said that it was better for her to be united with her husband than to always be dragging back and resisting. I don't like this idea. I don't like that idea. I don't want to do this. Just doing it out of obligation. And then someday in the future being able to say, I told you so. This is kind of what he said. And I could really relate with that a lot because me and Adonia went through something very similar to that. And I think that sometimes in life we also have to be open to that. Just kind of go with what is happening in our lives. Some things we don't have control over. Sometimes we can't do anything about, or some things that we're not really willing to do anything about. But it was having that vision, or having that direction in life that gave this family and it's given so many people the power and the energy and the strength to be able to go beyond whatever challenge or difficulty came across their path in their life at any given time. And I think that that's something that each and every one of us can look at in our life. What am I trying to do with my life? Like, what do I want to accomplish? Because I think no matter what we try to do in our life, there's going to be some kind of difficulty or hardship is going to come along the way sooner or later. Whether it's, a personal, with our friends, our family, money, health, many challenges can come along. I kind of, when I watched this documentary, I kind of felt like, we should have more movies like this, because for me, it inspires me to become a better human being, to look at my life and think, are my personal ambitions or goals in life big enough? Everything that I've ever felt like was meaningful that I accomplished in my life, I had to go through some kind of challenge. There was some kind of obstacle in the way. I remember a number of years ago, I attended this Millionaire Mind seminar, and it was a seminar where they taught you about how to become, why you should become financially successful, why you should make money, basically is what it was. And not just that, but they kind of delved into, they go into what are some things that hold me back from doing that. Whether, for me, a big one was I always had this idea that religious people are kind of destined to be poor, right? Kind of like the two go together almost. Like if you want to be religious, you have to be poor, like an ascetic kind of lifestyle. And also that money is like evil. Like if you have a lot of money, you're almost destined to be like a bad person. And I really had to open my eyes to how detrimental, how damaging that way of thinking was for myself. And I came home from that experience really pumped up to make a change in my life. And it was an interesting time in my life. I had pretty much no money. I had a jar. It was a moose coin jar, like a piggy bank, but it was a moose. And that was my bank account. And it was mostly coins. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it happened. It's not like I always had no money, but at that time in my life, I was so poor, and I didn't care. It didn't bother me. But when I came back from that seminar and I looked at this, I was like, what was I thinking? What can I do for people when I have nothing? Apparently I could do something, but it wasn't what I wanted to be able to do. So I made a determination that I was going to start fresh and have a new beginning and get out there and market myself and make some money. And I put on my best clothes and my scarf. This was wintertime, and I hit the streets. I said a prayer first because I was really nervous. And I hit the street and I went to all these businesses. I went to lawyers' offices. I went to cafes and restaurants, and I said, hey, I know how to build websites. You want to hire me to build a website for you? And lots and lots of like, no, I have a website already, or no, I'm not really interested in that. But then that first day, I found somebody who said, why don't you come back tomorrow, we'll talk. And he hired me. And it wasn't like a high-paying job, but it inspired me that I could go out, that I could do it. That it was possible. But it was so scary. I felt like, for me, it was a risk, but it wasn't really a risk. I mean, it wasn't a big risk, but it was a risk nonetheless. Risk of failure, like, well, if I go out and I talk to all these people and no one wants me, how am I going to feel after that? And I think that, but it didn't happen that way, and I'm really grateful for that. And it's just a reminder that sometimes we have to take risks, and I think the bigger the thing that we're trying to accomplish, the bigger the risks that we have to take. And I'm thinking about this a lot because I'm thinking, what kind of risks do we have to take as pastors to really grow our church? Maybe I have to get up there and be the one teaching divine principle to the guests, people who are looking for the answers to life's questions. I don't know, but I'm starting to think, what do I have to do to be able to get us to where we need to be? And I think that that's something that we can all ask ourselves in our lives. What do I have to do to be able to get me or my family, my children, my parents, to where we want to be? Our ambition or our goal in life. And then to see stories like the Comaneci, or what are they? Carolis, sorry. And people like our founders or True Parents, and many, many wonderful people who've come and gone through the past. It gives me hope that we can do whatever we set out to actually do. So, I will be sending out that video. And so, I hope that many of you watch it. I don't know why it touched me so deeply, but it did. So I think I meant to share it with you all. So thank you so much, everybody. God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, our announcements for the week. This past Thursday, we celebrated the 4th anniversary of our founder's passing. We had many people come, and we had saw a live stream straight from Korea. And we also had a wonderful meal. Here's just a few pictures of some of the events and the people who came. Cheese. Yeah, so everybody come next time. All right. On Sunday, August 28th, at 1 p.m., you're invited to Jazz and Megan's new and improved outreach program. So please talk to Jazz if you have any questions or if you'd like some more information. There will be a youth hike on September 17th at 10 in the morning. So this is for all young people who would like to participate. Please talk to Young Il if you have any questions. And I'm sure it'll be beautiful up there, so make sure you set some time aside for that. Who's that? So, Mike's father, Pastor Mike, Reverend Michael Hendrick, he got his PhD at the seminary in Korea. So we can give him a round of applause. And you can congratulate him in person next week. What? Okay. The financial reports are on the back table. On your way out, you can grab one. And if you have any questions about that, you can talk to Mike. But I think you'll like that. And we also can still use some help in some of these areas. I really want to give our recognition to Kendra and David. Although they're not here in the room at the moment, they're with the Sunday school kids and with the older kids. But they've volunteered to take on younger Sunday school and older Sunday school, as well as in Ilsham. So let's give them a round of applause. They're really putting themselves out there. At the same time, I'm sure they could still use some help. So if anybody would like to support them in that, please let us or let them know. Next week, Steve and Jerry, okay. So Mike will send out next week's ushers and cooking families and cleaning families. So that's our announcements for today. I think we'll have our band back up and we have our final song.